Everybody act tough when they up.
It's the Borsturk Podcast. We are back. Today's episode is unofficially sponsored by Lonzo Loft. We're going to be doing some NBA Big Pharma stuff in the coming weeks. If you're depressed because your knees gave out and you can't get back on the court and you're questioning everything, try Lonzo Loft. It's worked for me. Today I am joined by my usual co-host Max Klotz and also Coach Andy Gottnick, who's got the clipboard on the wall behind him. He's so locked in. New apartment, exposed brick. Life is good. And today we are talking players we are buying going into the 25-26 season. Just dudes you're in on. Guys you think are undervalued for whatever reason. I know Andy has a coach that he hasn't told us yet that he's going to be name dropping. Guys, how you doing?
Good, man. Happy to see Coach back on the pod. He's got his clipboard behind him. He's ready to drop some plays for us. Yeah, I'm excited for some stock reports.
It's great to be here. Depending on how long we go, there will be some ATOs that I could drop later on. So for those who want to get some good clips, follow the Twitter.
Thank you. And there is a DeAndre Ayton Xanax joke I will find a way to mix in at some point in this pod. Max, give us your leadoff player you're buying going into next season.
This one will make you happy, Drew. We see often guards take a while to adjust in the NBA. Jaden Ivey kind of started breaking out last year in his third year in the league. De'Aaron Fox was really bad his first year and a lot of his second year until he really started to break out. Even Russell Westbrook had a horrible first year before starting to really establish himself as an NBA player. And I expect Scoot Henderson to have a strong year in this coming year. He made some meaningful strides last year. If you look at the box score, it doesn't look super different from year one to year two. But there were some key progressions in a couple important areas. First of all, he improved a lot as a shooter, upped his three-point volume and percentage last year to around league average at 35%. He was particularly effective on off-the-dribble threes, where he was above league average. Shot a pretty high volume of threes because teams are kind of conceding that shot because they're scared of his speed. The more that he can hit that, the more he'll be able to actually get to his speed and weaponize that. And then also his playmaking improved. He got his assist to turnover ratio down to nearly 2-1. And in general, just looked a lot more in control throughout the year. So I'm excited to see what he looks like with Drew Holiday next to him, with Dame sort of mentoring him in the background, and just all the defensive infrastructure on the Portland Trail Blazers. They're trying to compete this year. They're going to be like a real interesting team, and the path is clear for him with Simons being out of the way, with Dame being out this year, for him to sort of grab the reins of being the lead guard on this team. And as a third-year guard, I'm expecting him and hopeful that he can take that and thrive in it. So Scoot Henderson, buying shares.
Speaking of Portland, I already put in my notes for the edit. Remove the Ayton Xanax joke. But I think Scoot Henderson's going to happen. I'm with you. I had it kind of at the bottom because I've talked about Scoot a bunch on the pod, and I didn't want to dwell on him. So thank you for giving me an excuse to break that rule. He figured out the three-point shot last year. You know, he has a 6'10 wingspan, so figuring out his shot mechanics has been underratedly complicated for a small-ish guard. A lot of guys with that kind of 7+ inch wingspan compared to height, like shoot with the ball in front of their head, and he's kind of moved it to the side of his head and it's looked a lot cleaner. So I'm really excited about the shooting. He's now learning from an all-time great offensive guard and an all-time great defensive guard, as you mentioned with Drew. The offensive guard obviously being Dame back in town. He's a better prospect than Shaedon Sharpe, in my opinion. Despite Shaedon's insane raw talent, I still think Scoot's our number one prospect because he competes way more consistently. And I just refuse to believe that Shaedon is just going to flip a switch in that way. At this point in his career, we have a pretty decent Shaedon Sharpe, like emotional sample size. So to everyone who's given up on Scoot, fuck you. And in the words of satanic fool George Bush Jr., watch this drive.
I absolutely love the pick. Yeah. Love the pick, Max. He was an honorable mention for me. I had a feeling that Drew would be the one taking this one, but I'm really proud of you for stepping on the gas first. I really like the point about young guards having some time to figure it out. The stat that really stood out to me was his shooting foul percentage stats, percentage of player shots that's attempted where he's fouled on. He saw an increase from 10.3 to 11.2% there, good for 71st percentile for point guards. I think with young guards coming into the league, if they're able to get easy looks or really slow down the real pace of play of the game, they can really figure out how to have success on the floor on both ends. And obviously, as Drew was saying, having an incredible mentors this year coming in for him to be there, couldn't be more in on this stock.
Hell yeah.
Sweet. Coach, give me your first dude.
My first dude was spoken by Max in his soliloquy about Scoot there. I'm going with Jaden Ivey. I know he broke out a bit last year. It was only 30 games because of the broken fibula. As a boy who broke his fibula in 5th grade skiing, I know it too well. Averaging almost 18 points last year, 4.1 rebounds, 4 assists. That was the only dip in his career high in terms of season averages. 41% from deep on 5.1 attempts from 3 in 30 games is something I love to see. Obviously, Cade took the massive jump last year, having the regular season success, having the playoff success, but no Malik this year, as we know, for certain reasons. He's more creative of a playmaker than Duncan and then Karras, who they brought in. So I'm really excited to see. I think if the Pistons want to take that next jump, they need that secondary creator. We saw a lot last year in the playoffs where if Cade wasn't really doing it, they didn't really have much that they can really rely on. So Ivey needing some time, obviously, to come back, get really into a real rhythm with them. But seeing how having 2 playmakers in the guard position area can make a really good jump, not just for Ivey, but for the Detroit Pistons in particular.
Yeah, I had Ivy on my list as well as one of my stocks. And it's funny because he came into the league as a questionable shooter, but just like awesome athlete. And when you look at his shot chart now, it is all green on the outside and all red on the inside, which is not necessarily what I think most people would expect when it comes to Jaden Ivey. But he made the progression last year to being an elite shooter on high volume. Shout out to the Pistons shooting coach Fred Vinson, who has done similarly great work on jump shots with Lonzo Ball, Herb Jones, and other guys on the Pelicans when he was there. But Ivey, if he can improve kind of his paint game, his finishing, his floaters, he's going to be really, really difficult to stop because teams, I think, are going to need to respect the 3-point shot this year more than they did in the past because he's proven he can hit those. And once they start coming out on that and opening up the lanes for his drives, I'm really excited to see how he looks with the added space that he started taking advantage of last year with Duncan Robinson, Tobias Harris, and Cade as shooters around him. And then if they go with Isaiah Stewart, that's a little bit more space as well, or just running pick and roll with Duren. I think the Pistons are still going to be a really strong team this year, even though they lost a couple contributors. But I fully see them being as good of a team as they were last year, if not better, just on the progression of their young guys. And yeah, he should have that starting 2 guard spot back. And if he takes a step forward, I think Detroit can take a big step forward as well. If he's kind of on that star trajectory that I think like that ability is in there. I very high on Jaden Ivey and buying shares as well.
Yeah, Cade Cunningham, one of the very best at extending drives, keeping his dribble alive, working through the progressions, and finding really late in the possession passes. Obviously, it's amazing to have a sniper of Malik Beasley's caliber around a guy like that. It's also great to have like the Christian Brown, like fearless rim attackers who are diving late in possessions. And I think Ivey can thrive off Cade similarly to some of the ways that Christian Brown thrives off of Jokic. So I like the pick. He wasn't on my list, but the talent is there. And I'm going to stick with another guard, high upside, young-ish guard who played around 30 games last year, who I know Max is not buying, but I'm buying Immanuel Quickley. Sorry, Max. It's okay to admit sometimes that your ex was really great. And last season was the first season in Immanuel Quickley's 5-year NBA career that he played fewer than 64 games. Okay, Coach, I know how high you were on last year's Toronto Raptors. We're not holding it against you. It was an injury-riddled year. I think that they would have hit the over had they had even like average, health for the regular season. But in the 33 games that Quickley did play, he averaged 17, 4, and 6 on 42, 38, 87 splits, attempted 4 free throws per game for the 3rd season in a row. And those stats include a bunch of games where he was on a minutes restriction because Toronto essentially threw in the towel after Scotty Barnes and Quickley injuries resulted in a 9-31 midseason record. 39% on 105 pull-up threes, Immanuel Quickley last year. Like there might not be a more valuable guard skill. If you're going to be something resembling a point guard for an NBA team in 2025, you've got to hit pull-up threes. He was, according to Dunks and Threes EPM, the 55th most valuable player in the games he did play. He just turned 26. I think he's probably like a league average defender for his position, but he has long arms, the upside to pester smallish guards when he's locked in. I think the argument against him that Max is probably going to touch on, so let's get ahead of it, is that he's making $32.5 million annually.
I am Googling salary ranks as we speak.
Yeah, get on SpoTrack. I thought it was SpotTrack. Apparently it's Spo. But that number, $32.5 million, stays exactly the same through 2029, when it's going to account for probably less than a sixth of Toronto's cap sheet. So I think everyone's sleeping on Quickley a little bit because he just couldn't stay healthy last year, and Toronto shut him down at a certain point in, a really rough season for them. I'm buying. I think he's an interesting player type. I'm not arguing that he's going to become one of the best lead guards in the league, but he doesn't need to be, because a lot of the ball handling duties go to Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett and some of the other talented creators they have. Give me the Quickley stock.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the stock. I'm in on the Toronto stock. I'm okay on the Quickley stock. The stat that stands out for him, if you can't tell, the coach in me right now recently has been big into the free throw rate. He saw increases in that from the shooting foul free throw rates, also floor foul as well. And I think being a lead guard on that team, he's got to show that success driving forward if he's going to have success and the Raptors are going to have success. My one concern with him is if you look at their roster, like, is he going to have the ball enough to make that real jump? And if that real jump is there for him, what really is it? Like, Scotty has the ball, Brandon has the ball, RJ has the ball, Grady Dick, I have all the stock in. He is not here for me, but he's a honorable mention. Like, what are you seeing from him, Drew, in terms of that real next step?
Well, you might be right that he won't have the usage to take a major statistical leap, but he's going to be playing a ton of minutes if he's healthy, because they just don't have enough shooting. Last year, they drafted two guys I really liked in the range that they got them, like Jamal Shed and Jonathan Mobo. Both of them are subpar shooters for their position. And they just drafted another guy I love, Colin Murray-Boyles, who can do pretty much everything on the basketball court but shoot. So Grady Dick and Immanuel Quickley are going to be asked to play a ton of minutes. They just need the spacing around Barnes, Barrett, Pirtle, and like the other things they got going on in Toronto. There's definitely an opportunity for him to become a really intriguing, like maybe third or fourth best guy on a really good team, which probably isn't what Toronto's going to be, but maybe he ends up somewhere else because he does a lot of winning things.
He strikes me more as like a really like a rich man's fifth starter on a really good team. I don't know if I see him as having that third best type of upside. I'm a little worried for him because he's the only person who can shoot threes in the Toronto starting lineup at a consistent rate. Like,
you don't think Grady's playing?
I'm assuming they're starting Quick, RJ, Ingram, Scotty Barnes, and Jakob Pirtle, which is one of the worst spacing environments that has been put out on an NBA court in recent years. Despite the fact.
Yeah. And I didn't even mention BI, and I have him right here in my notes. Like, yeah, obviously BI, even when BI's making threes, it's much less off the catch. It tends to be him picking up his own dribble. So the spacing is a massive need. And, someone like maybe RJ, when he's having one of his really inefficient stretches, might kind of start to lose some minutes, because you just need a certain amount of spacing to make those, big creators successful. Like Scotty Barnes can't be playing with, one shooter on the floor at any given time. It's just not going to work.
Do you want to hear a fun fact?
Please.
Jalen Brunson is making $5 million more than Immanuel Quickley next year. And the year.
I didn't know that we were doing the selling stock pod today. But
You're making a great point for the wrong reason, Max. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and the money thing with Quick, like, he's making 32. It's around the same. It's what like the elite fifth starters get, as far as like Jalen Suggs, Aaron Gordon, Derek White. Like, they're all in that range. Jalen Johnson. He's in the same range as like Tyler Hero, Jordan Poole also, and I think I like him more than either of those guys on like a contending team, because he's such a good defender, and I know he can play on any team because he can shoot, he can play make, and he can defend. But I do worry with Toronto, like especially when the shooting environment is that bad. Usually, when the shooting environment's that bad, you at least have an elite defense like Orlando does. But they've got a lot of questions on defense too, with like Ingram and RJ Barrett in the starting lineup. Those guys aren't all-world defenders, and Scotty Barnes has all-world defensive potential, but isn't always locked in to the best degree on that end. So I really like Quick. He was one of my favorite Knicks role players when we had him. I stand on the fact that I cannot believe we got OG Anunoby just for straight up Quick and RJ with no picks. And Zach Lowe made the point a couple weeks ago of like a lot of people were saying Quick might be the best player in that deal in a couple years. I don't think that's going to happen. Like OG, I think, is a demonstrably better player, at least when he's on the court. But I do really like Quick, and I kind of wish that he'd ended up in a different situation where he could be like that elite fifth starter on a really good team, as opposed to being in whatever the hell this Toronto situation is.
Yeah,
Did you just
the
call Aaron
stereotypical
Gordon?
like. Yeah, you go.
Did you just call Aaron Gordon the fifth best starter on the Nuggets? Because did we watch the exact same playoffs?
Semantics. I was referring to elite non-all-star starters. Go ahead.
Thank you.
I agree with you. In a dream world, Quickley's on the Lakers, playing off of, big point guards, hitting threes, going nuclear in like the non-LUKA minutes. I just believe in his elasticity as a shooter. There's a fluidity to Quick on the ball. He understands how to change pace. I'm in. And I think there is a non-zero chance he's better than OG Anunoby this year.
I'd be surprised. I'd be pretty surprised.
I'm sure you would.
Can I get my next guy?
If you must.
Another guy who, similar to Jaden Ivey, was experiencing a breakout last year before an untimely injury. And I am expecting to look even better this year in the handful of games that Kristaps Porzingis is healthy. And
here we go.
That is Jalen Johnson, who is my guy for the record. I didn't do draft evals on him when he came out in the draft, so I was not able to get down on him for the way that he handled his draft process. That doesn't matter to me now. All I care about is what's on the court. And for large stretches of last year, he was the Hawks' best and most impactful player, even over Trae Young. Season cut short due to injury, as I mentioned, but averaged 19 and 10 and 5, which is just, there's very few players in the NBA who hit those benchmarks with 2.5 stocks per game. Active on both ends. One of the few guys in the league who combines elite athleticism with ball handling and playmaking. And the shot chart, aside from in the restricted area, doesn't look great. His three-point shooting is bad. His mid-range shooting is bad. But he gets to the basket and finishes really well. He's a good passer, solid defender. And with Kristaps Porzingis, I love the Hawks trading for Kristaps because with a 5-out system, Johnson is just going to get so many plays where he can roll down the basket, get to the rim, get dunks. He's not going to have Clint Capella in there clogging up the lane anymore. It's going to be Kristaps spaced out to 28 feet. And Johnson's just going to be able to roll for massive finishes. So I'm expecting him. Hopefully he can stay healthy. He's dealt with a lot of injuries in his career, and hopefully that's not a trend that's going to stay with him. But I do think with Atlanta's offensive infrastructure this year, it's set up for him to explode to like from 19 to like 24, 25 points a game, I think, with the way the floor is going to be opened up for him and the way that Atlanta, I think, can kind of start to gear their offense towards him. So love Jalen Johnson. Think he's got an outside chance at an all-star berth this year. And just can't wait to watch him back on the court and healthy.
Okay, so Max has the title in this episode so far for softest pick in the segment. Jalen Johnson, I had him in all 3 of my fantasy leagues this year. The breakout already happened. We know if he's healthy, he's a dog. We know this. And I would actually even push back on some of your qualifications. I don't think the three-point shooting is that bad. It's super low volume, but he's cleaned up his shot a lot in just a couple of years. I'm not sure he isn't going to be a floor spacer in the next couple of years. One of my favorite stats last year is that when Jalen Johnson was healthy, he was top 5 in the league in passes thrown, which is a testament to Trae Young getting off the ball a little bit more and allowing his young wing, switchblade forward to cook. I'm excited to see what happens. Awesome rebounder, incredibly powerful finisher in transition, exactly the type of secondary star you want next to Trae Young. And Atlanta has a really interesting year ahead. Like, there's a pretty high ceiling on this Atlanta team. I don't think they're going to be an inner circle contender by any stretch, but they might be a really, really good regular season engine.
If you thought that was soft, wait for my last stock.
Oh God, here we fucking go. Coach?
I mean, the sexier pick was definitely going Zach Ricochet for that, but I still love it, Max. I think the and1 percentage for him last year being 28.1%, as you mentioned, becoming really good finishing around the rim. I think that's a really strong stat for him coming into next year. The one thing as well is like they have so many different wings now around him, and him coming back healthy. You have Zach, you have Dyson. They just signed Na as well. Like, I think he's going to make that big jump. I think for the Hawks to have real team success, it's not him having that all-star jump, though. It's them having the overall team jump, like getting him involved, getting Na involved, getting Trey really going downhill still, too. But I absolutely love the player still.
Such a coach. I love it.
It never leaves.
Andy, your second guy.
Second guy, we're going to go a little sexy here to get Drew going. We're going to go Scotty Pippen Jr. on the Memphis Grizzlies. I do know they just signed Ty Jerome, which is probably going to take a little bit of minutes from him and also take the ball out of his hands. And we're not rooting for any injuries here. Ja is not healthy very often. Every time Scotty came into the game last year, I felt like the Memphis coaching staff, I felt like Memphis fans were not nervous about team success. 9.1 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, 4.4 assists. Very steady player, very steady backup point guard, and someone that you can really trust moving forward as well. He also shot 52% on corner threes last year, an insane number for a player like him, especially if you're going to be at that size. You got to be able to space the floor. If they are fully healthy this year with Ja playing, Jaren's back from the toe injury, Edey's back from whatever he got hurt with a few weeks ago, he needs to be able to space the floor and make corner threes, and he proved that last year. And I think with another step moving forward, he fully has Ja's trust. He has JJJ's trust. He has the coaching staff's trust. He's my kind of guy for next year.
Do you see him as like the next Tyus Jones, or do you think he's better than that?
I really want to say the next Jalen Brunson, but I've calmed myself down since coming back from.
I thought you were selling. I thought you were selling on Jalen Brunson, so that would be an insult, right?
Early buy. I do see him as that next Tyus Jones, where coming in, giving Ja that real break, allowing the offense to still keep running, defensively being a little bit of a pest there. 1.3 steals last year per game too. So I love that comp for him.
Nice.
Yeah, no notes. Scotty. It's just really incredible how good you have to be, simply put, at that size to be as good as he was last year. His assist to turnover is always great. He rebounds well for such a small guard. He's really light. Like, that's why I don't think there's a crazy, like, how did this happen, Jalen Brunson outcome. He doesn't have that strength, those like athletic quirks that make Jalen Brunson subtly special. But just the skill level and the IQ that it takes to be a plus NBA player at his size, it's crazy. And it's really cool because I didn't really take him that seriously as a prospect. He just looked so small, even in the SEC. He looks even smaller on an NBA court, and he just produces. Like, he just shows up in the box score night after night. It'll be interesting to see what he maxes out at. And look, we just saw TJ McConnell make a real impact on a finals series. Like, small guards can be very valuable. People love to say in 10 years, everyone's going to be 6'6" plus. Like, clearly not. There's still niches for weird player archetypes like Scottie Pippen Jr. to show up in playoff series and make a difference. And it's probably too limiting to think of him as a Tyus Jones type guy. Like, I think he's more dynamic as a scorer. He's a more consistent shooter, a more versatile shooter, and plays bigger than he is.
He might be Drew's player comp. Think about it now. Thinking about playing bigger for the size as well. 8.3 free throw attempts per game in college. He's at 2.2 now. I think that could be a real next step for him as well. He's shown the strength to get to the line and really execute there too. So I'd watch out for that one as well.
Nice. Drew?
Yep. Austin Reaves. I know a lot of people love Austin Reaves.
Flaming hot.
Yeah. Flaming hot. Jalen Johnson. I've seen a lot of Austin Reaves hate online because he kind of had the series from Hal versus Minnesota. He looked overwhelmed in all of the stereotypically Caucasian ways. 53% true shooting, couldn't finish at the rim, hunted defensively. My least favorite thing that happened for him in that series is he logged 1 steal in 5 games. like sometimes the steals numbers really do feel like they reflect the eye test. He was better than Jaden McDaniels all year, and Jaden McDaniels is a guy I'm going to mention later. But in that series, he looked like a worse playoff player than Jaden McDaniels, and I didn't see that one coming. He's 23rd last year in the regular season in expected wins, which combines EPM and total minutes played. Like the advanced numbers tell you Austin Reaves was legitimately like a potential future all-star based on like his last couple regular seasons. I mentioned all the things that went wrong in the Minnesota series, and yet I think you're insane if you're calling for the Lakers to deal him for a player whose strengths are Austin Reaves' weaknesses. Mm-hmm. LeBron is near the end. We know that great teams need multiple big boy advantage creators, and I just really buy Austin Reaves as one of those guys. He does have the $15 million player option next summer, which is probably much less than he'd make on the open market. So if you're the Lakers and you're just convinced he's gone and you can't afford to pay him what he'll deserve, maybe you have to deal him. But I just think there's been way too much Austin Reaves slander for a guy I still believe can be the third best guy on a title team.
Yeah, and he should be in a better defensive role for him as well, because last year, at times, he was relied on to guard the best guard on the other team, which he's like a decent defender. He's not as bad as he looked in that Minnesota series, I don't think, but he's not someone who can just every night automatically you put him on the best guard on the other team. Now that hopefully they have a healthy Marcus Smart on their team, that guy can go get the best guard or perimeter guy on the other team every night, and Reaves can be in a little bit more of a supporting role on the perimeter, which hopefully should free him up. And then also like, and I might talk about this more a little bit later, but LUKA is just a really tough guy to fit around, and it takes time for teams to understand how to play around him. Like, look at when they first traded for Kyrie, that fit with him and Kyrie was a little weird. It was a lot of your turn, my turn. The rest of the Dallas roster didn't fit around them so well. I'm expecting in year 2 that everyone's going to know a little bit better LUKA's tendencies and where to pick their spots around him, and I think Reaves should benefit from that as well.
So Reaves was my third guy on this list. My head dropped there as Max took my 2 key talking points about it taking time to learn from LUKA, and also the Smart signing with them going away from him being that primary guard defender. About the LUKA part, it takes a lot to learn how to play around a guy like that and LeBron James. He learned how to play around LeBron James, had a deep playoff run there. LUKA was brought in halfway through the season, had to learn how to do that. Brunson's first year with Dallas playing with LUKA, 9.3 points, then 8.2, then 12.6, then 16.3. It takes time to figure out how to play around these high-profile usage rate guys, and Reaves has proven he has a strong basketball IQ. It wasn't the best series for him last year, but I love this flaming hot pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I usually lean toward put your best guys on the floor together in the important minutes, and obviously that's what the Lakers are going to do, and Austin Reaves is one of their 5 best players easily, but at least in the regular season, I love the idea of staggering LUKA and Austin Reaves as much as possible. I want them to continue to develop that synergy. Shout out Coach has the synergy. That's my plug. But I like the idea that there isn't a minute LUKA's off the floor that Austin Reaves, isn't sort of holding the keys to the offense. We know that against second units, Austin Reaves can cook just about anyone. And it's just going to be a great way to keep LUKA healthy, make sure the offense doesn't run dry like it did at various points last year, and take the burden off 41-year-old LeBron James. Like just keep LeBron on ice as much as you can until what hopefully will be a deep playoff run.
This is as good a time as any for me to skip to my last player stock and come back to ones I had in the middle. But if I told you, or what if I told you, I could offer you a blue chip stock that has experienced a slight but over-exaggerated downturn. And now is the time to get in before it's just going to skyrocket to levels that we haven't seen before. It is LUKA Doncic. Andy's making faces at me. I think the hate on LUKA has gone way too far. Like, whenever I see player rankings and he's being dropped down into like the 5 to 7 range, which happens way too often, like that's absurd to me. I think he still has a strong argument to be the second best player in the world. When he was at his best a couple years ago, he even had some people making cases for him to be the best player in the world. And I'm expecting him to get back to that, like, no doubt about it, top 3 player stage this year. Like last year, like disappointing, depressed, out of shape, recovering from injury, LUKA as a Laker averaged 28, 8 and 8 and shot 38% from 3. The mid-range shot kind of deserted him a little bit, and he's going to need to get back to that. A lot of his efficiency was buoyed from foul drawing and grifting to a degree, but I'm expecting, as I mentioned in the Austin Reaves bit, guys are going to be more comfortable playing with him. All the pictures look like he's in phenomenal shape. I'm all in on LUKA this year, and I don't know if he's going to win an MVP because the Lakers will probably have to win like upwards of 55 games to do that. And I don't know if they have the roster to quite get that done in this Western Conference, but I know it's not a sexy pick. I just think the hate on LUKA has gone way too far, and people, when they're evaluating the Lakers this year, are discounting the fact that they have one of the 3 best players in the league entering his prime.
The only reason why I made that face was I didn't know that we can buy top 3 player stocks in this podcast, but I absolutely love it. I'll buy Jokic's stock as well, maybe SGA, but
sometimes you gotta slip in some Tesla and Nvidia into your stock portfolio.
I'm all for it. I am not someone who's obsessed with this, like, Lakers are going to be bad this year kind of take. I would have them over the Clippers. I don't, like, obviously I have Denver over them. I don't think it's obvious that Houston is better than them coming into the season. Like, are we really trusting Kevin Durant or what he just did in Phoenix for the last few years? Like, I'm all in on this Lakers team. If LeBron just like figures out saying, hey, this team really does still have a chance. They still got to the number 3 seed last year, and having a, as you said, healthy LUKA, motivated LUKA, a LUKA who now knows Los Angeles compared to Dallas. I'm all in.
Yeah, I think regular season, the Rockets will definitely be a better team, but I 100% agree in the playoffs, I'm not sure that they're a better team.
Agreed.
I'm going to skip coach because I want to talk about the guy who was talking shit to LUKA all through the Minnesota round 1 beatdown of the Lakers, Jaden McDaniels. Coach, was he on your list as well?
Honorable mention.
Okay, good. 2 years ago, April 2023, was an inflection point in Jaden McDaniels' career. He was walking into the tunnel at halftime, pissed off, and broke his hand punching a wall. He missed the rest of 2023, including the Wolves' 5-game round 1 loss to the eventual champion Nuggets. Remember when the Wolves pushed the future champs harder than anyone else? So at this point, I'm wondering, is he immature, selfish, erratic, unreliable? Well, he comes back in 23-24 as the butt of a lot of jokes, only to establish himself as a fearless playoff gamer, played a key role in Minnesota's repeat bid ending upset over Denver last year. And here we are now, another year later. McDaniels is a real dude on a back-to-back conference finalist. I just love how dismissive he was of LUKA in the Lakers series this spring. You know, he talked shit, he backed it up, and competed until the very last minute of that frustrating OKC series. He signed, I think, was it last year or 2 years ago, the 5 years, $131 million deal, which I think was awesome business by Minnesota. They've now got him till 2029 as he smooths his offensive game out, you know, one little kink at a time. And if he gets back to league average from 3, he's immediately already a perfect wing next to Ant. But I think he might have more than that on offense to develop. He's flashed real shot creation feel, body control on drives. I think it's really hard to affect his shot when he rises up for short 2s, and he really likes those short range pull-ups. He's 24 years old. I'm just really pumped to see Jaden McDaniels continue to figure things out as a closeout attacker because the defense is already elite.
Yeah, real quick on him. One thing that stood out to me is just how good he looked on LUKA this year. And part of that, I think, was LUKA not quite being himself. But in the conference finals in 2024, LUKA just totally ate him up. Like he was too skinny to check LUKA. He would get him to the elbow every time and just shoot his little fadeaway over him. And I was expecting, as I think many people were going into the Minnesota Lakers series, that LUKA would do the same thing again to Minnesota that he'd done the previous year. And whether it was from Minnesota's own internal improvement and McDaniels just understanding how to attack LUKA a little bit better, that did not happen. And I think he did a really good job on him in the playoffs, which I did not expect after how he performed the year before.
He was an honorable mention for me. I love the pick. as Anthony Edwards said, they have Kevin Durant, but we got Jaden McDaniels. The part, Drew, you mentioned about, I think, him being more than just a standstill three-point shooter. He shot 70% on shots at the rim last year. Like, that's an insane number to be at, 79 percentile for his position. Absolutely love it. I'm not the biggest Timberwolves guy for how much I love Jaden and how much I love Anthony. I don't trust Julius. I don't trust Rudy to win big games when it matters, even with these nice conference finals runs. But the thing that brings me back to them every single time isn't just Anthony, it is Jaden's potential. Like, he can be the two-way player that's not just a defensive pest on LUKA, as you were saying, Max, but the offensive engine that when Ant needs a real quick rest, he can be the guy for that anytime.
Do you think in practice, when Anthony Edwards is scrimmaging with the bench, he says they have Rudy Gobert, but we have Johan Berenger?
That's your best line.
Berenger is the new McDaniels in terms of how can this team surpass the ceiling that I think a lot of smart people imagine for them, despite the fact they've had back-to-back conference finals. They've proven me wrong 2 years in a row, and I'm probably going to be shorting them again. But you just have to respect this 2-year span. Back-to-back conference finals in the West, I don't care what matchups you pulled. It's super impressive. Yeah,
I'm fully ready to pick against them in the first round again, and for them to beat the team that I'm expecting to beat them easily, for them to handily beat that team. The one thing with Anthony Edwards, and we're sort of devolving into Timberwolves talk here, but the take that I kind of want to get on the record is he is there's two different versions of Anthony Edwards. There's the version of him where you don't have a rim protector, and the version of him for him to go against, and the version of him where you do have a rim protector. We've seen in these playoff series, when teams do not have a rim protector, Anthony Edwards is completely unstoppable and looks like Michael Jordan, basically. So in the series, and it's all the series that Minnesota has won, whenever the other team has a semblance of rim protection, Minnesota has really struggled. But if we look at the last 2 years, they have played Denver really tough even the year before that. And then the last year, obviously, they beat them. No rim protection there, really, aside from Aaron Gordon. And Anthony Edwards just feasted at the basket and on pull-ups all series long. They swept Phoenix. Yusuf Nurkic was the rim protector there, so no rim protection there either. Anthony Edwards just got there at will and looked superhuman. Then they run into Dallas, who didn't have like amazing rim protection, but Daniel Gafford, rookie Derek Lively was a good combination, and that just totally took away the sort of primary weapon that Edwards had at his disposal, and Minnesota looked like a much more mortal team. The year after, Lakers, famously last year, didn't even have a center to try to be a rim protector. Anthony Edwards looked completely unstoppable. And then the round after that, who did they play in the second round last year? Minnesota.
Golden State.
Warriors.
Golden State, who was like a shell of a team, but again, no real rim protection. Draymond Green, phenomenal Hall of Fame defender, but rim protection is not at the top of his list of skills with just how small he is. Then they run into Oklahoma City. A lot of guys struggle against Oklahoma City, but that was another case, rim protection, Anthony Edwards stymied. So I think next year I'm going to learn my lesson of if they're playing a team that doesn't have any rim protection, I'm going to believe in them. But if they're playing a team with a semblance of rim protection, then I'm going to pick against them.
Look, I get LUKA was overweight. We got LUKA ripping hookah, and hopefully this year we get no hookah LUKA. Simple fact, Anthony Edwards outplayed him in round one. And that's not nothing, you know? And I kind of sleep on Anthony Edwards as a potential top 3 guy in the league because I just don't think he processes like the savants at the very top. And he doesn't have just the natural physical dominance of a guy like Giannis. But he outplayed LUKA in round one when the consensus pick definitely felt like it was the Lakers. I know that was Max in my pick. I don't know how Coach felt going into that one. Anthony Edwards continues to surpass expectations now, playoffs to playoffs. And maybe he's just going to do that again in 2026. So I'm open to that possibility. Coach, who you got?
Coach is grabbing the clipboard, and we're going to coaches here.
Bring them out.
That prop came in handy real good there. I listened to your guys' last pod. Absolutely loved it. Max, don't take any offense from Drew coming at you for doing the Denver stock, because I'm coming in here with David Adelman as my next stock. I am all in on the Nuggets, but I am also all in on Coach Adelman. He had 3 regular season games, won all 3 to get the team into the seeding that they were. I think with every passing day, the 7-game series against OKC is as impressive as it gets. Obviously, they made some incredible additions in Cam Johnson and Jonas and a healthy De'Ron Holmes we're forgetting about, Tim Hardaway Jr., Bruce Brown. But I think it's really understanding that if they had a healthy Aaron Gordon for that game 7, we could be talking about how Nikola Jokic has 2 rings. So I'm really excited about this Nuggets team. I'm really excited about the media discourse around Adelman that could be there if they have a real, because I think that they're a real playoff success team. But if they have the regular season success that they really could have, the noise about him could be the noise about Dagnall as the OKC Thunder were becoming who they were. The noise could be about Mazzulla now, as everyone was about to fire him when they lost to Miami, but now he's the best coach offensively in the NBA there. So I'm all in about Adelman. I'm all in on the Denver Nuggets. So this take is really not just about the coach stock; it's about Max's team stock too.
It's kind of crazy that the Nuggets seemingly had these really good assistant coach and assistant GM guys just waiting in the wings behind the seemingly somewhat incompetent GM and Calvin Booth they previously had. And I'm not going to call Michael Malone incompetent. He's a good coach, but like they had a very good stock of assistant coach and assistant GM guys behind them. Clearly this new assistant GM, I mean, pulled off this offseason, essentially turning Michael Porter Jr. and a first-round pick into Cam Johnson, Valanciunas, Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr. Like, that's a hell of a haul. So I like that. Adelman, I was expecting the Nuggets to look more kind of scattered in the playoffs, having experienced that coaching change right before, but super well coached, super high IQ team through and through. So like they can pick up on stuff quickly. And yeah, I was just really impressed as well with, I mean, how many rings is that OKC series worth for Jokic? Like 0.8? Does he have 1.8 rings now? And Adelman, I think is just going to continue to get more comfortable, install some of his concepts a little bit more. And I'm expecting with the departure of Porter Jr. and the addition of Cam Johnson, who's just really high IQ, plays basketball the right way, that the offense is going to look even more kind of fluid and collaborative than it's looked in years past, which has always been kind of a strength for this Denver team already. And I'm expecting that to get even better.
Yeah. David Adelman, you're a Portland native. Don't worry, Chauncey's warming up these young guys for you. 2031 will win the title with David Adelman as our coach. Come home, David. Max, you want to drop someone or can I keep going?
I've got one more. So if you have multiple that you want to get through, you can do one.
Yeah, I only have 3 more. So cool. Payton Pritchard, speaking of Joe Mazzulla, one of Joe Mazzulla's most special students, Payton Pritchard. The opportunity is here. Jason Tatum's out for at least the next season, probably only the next season. Payton Pritchard, by the way, was a member of Boston's best lineup last year. The Pritchard, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Hauser, Cornette lineup was plus 26 in 116 possessions. Not nothing. Payton Pritchard, 41% on 8 threes attempted per game last year. One of the best shooters on earth, had 5 games with 7 or more made threes. He made 10 threes against Portland, which is always a matchup that means a little extra to him as an Oregonian. Assist to turnover ratio of 3.2, which puts Pritch in the top 10 of the league. If you take out the negligible usage rate guys, there are a couple bigs in there that don't really touch the ball. Listen, my dad thought that Pritchard was a Hall of Famer coming out of Oregon. As Max puts up Pritchard's shot chart in the background.
It's so green.
Thank you for ruining my monologue. I always appreciate you. And I called my dad crazy. My dad said, like, you know, Oregon Ducks Payton Pritchard is about to be the next Chris Paul. And he doesn't know that much about player types. And I dismissed him. And here we are. I don't by any stretch think that Pritch is a Hall of Famer, but I really do believe there's like an offensive all-star upside with him. 4 state titles in high school, all-time Oregonian legend. All he's known is winning in the NBA. He's truly built different and has exceeded expectations at every single step of his basketball journey. He doesn't have Jalen Brunson's strength and bag like in the paint, but unlike Scotty Pippen Jr., he does have some of that thickness to like get into long, wiry NBA bodies and move them a little bit the way that TJ McConnell can do. So that center of gravity serves him well in the paint. He has a chance now to take 10 threes a game, and we'll see if he can maintain the efficiency. But I'm buying Payton Pritchard, and it's a little bit of a cheat just because like the best player on the team is injured. But I think he has a chance to break out in a major way. And that's right after what? Was he sixth man of the year? I think he ended up winning the award, right?
Yeah, he won it.
And I still think the room for growth is there.
Yeah, he averaged 18, 5 and 4 per 36 minutes last year. So I think I would expect that to be similar in a scaled up role this year, and maybe even like crack the 20 points per game plateau. The Celtics this year, I think, are just going to shoot an obscene amount of threes. Like with the talent that they've had go out the door and the way Mazzulla wants to play ball, it's going to be a crazy volume that is going to have old heads complaining on Twitter, and possibly myself as well. But I flashed up the shot chart, and it's like the whole thing is either green or yellow. There's no red. He's extremely effective at the rim. He's really good from even deep three, where he's one of those guards who can really stretch you out beyond just the 3-point line. And he does all that while taking every half court heave he can get his hands on. He shot 41% with all the heaves. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, 8 heaves in there. So it pains me to say it as a Celtics hater, but I do expect him to be really good. And Drew, you were early on it. I remember we had our pod with Noah Dalzell, a Celtics reporter back in the day, and you said that you saw all-star upside for Payton Pritchard at that point. I think she said it too, and I was like, I don't know, but I could see it happening.
I said it first. She got on board with me. Shout out Spotify for taking that episode down because we had a Meek Mill instrumental as our intro. We appreciate you, copyright Nazis. Max, I have a couple more speed round guys for after you give me one right now.
All right. My last one is Bennedict Mathurin. And I think he is going to start, first of all, without Tyrese Halliburton. It's been an interesting mind exercise to try to think about what these Pacers are going to look like next year and just how good they're going to be without Halliburton and without Miles Turner, who they have nothing in return for either of those guys. I'm expecting they start Andrew Nembhard, who I think could potentially flirt with all-star votes next year. Siakam, and then Mathurin and Nesmith. I think those 4 are kind of set in stone. And then for their 5, they might start Isaiah Jackson. They might start Jay Huff. They might start Obi Toppin. It's a little scary at the center position for them without Miles Turner. But I do think Mathurin is going to need to be relied upon as like their tertiary offensive creator. And he's a little bit... his style doesn't mesh exactly with the Indiana style. He's more of a ball stopper. He gets it. He surveys the court. He likes to get into his bag. But I was really impressed with how he looked at times in the playoffs. Averaged 23 points and 7 rebounds per 36 in the playoffs, and took nearly 10 free throws per game per 36. And he's a guy who is an expert foul drawer, and in a way that's legitimate. You see some guys, their free throws fall off a cliff when they go in the playoffs. See Trae Young, for example, or James Harden. And then you see some guys where their ability to play with physicality and draw contact makes them thrive in a playoff setting where getting easy points at the foul line is one of the best things that you can do. He's one of those guys where the free throw drawing carries over to the playoffs, similar to Jimmy Butler, what we saw with SGA, with the free throws carrying over to the playoffs. So that was really encouraging to me. His efficiency overall needs to improve. Like if you look at his shot chart, it's a lot of yellow and red and not a lot of green, but his efficiency overall is buoyed by his free throw drawing. So he's going to need to improve as a shooter for this to sort of really hit. But I think in his 3rd year or 4th year, I'm expecting that to come along. He's an extremely confident player, and he's going to have all the opportunity in the world to like go out and prove himself as a scorer. And the Pacers need him. And again, on the foul drawing, he was 93rd percentile in terms of free throws made per 36. He's one of the elite foul drawers that we have. And he's going to need to sort of get into his bag as a wing scorer for this Pacers team because they don't really have anyone else besides Siakam to create at that size. So I'm buying Mathurin. I think he, could get into the high teens scoring and be like a real player for them. And maybe when Halliburton comes back the year after, they're looking at their team with new light of, okay, we know Nembhard can be a fringe all-star. We've got Siakam. Mathurin's gained a lot more confidence as a scorer. And while this is kind of a gap year for them, they could come back even better the year after.
I made that face to start out because Nembhard was one of my honorable mentions, so I love the Pacer love here. The thing to also mention with Mathurin, he's a restricted free agent next year as well, so he has a lot to play for, and that like final cover of a two match with like obviously Halliburton coming back, Nembhard could be the all-star, Pascal has all-star potential. They have a lot of depth there too. Like he has a real chance to show what he can do in a more elevated role. I think it was game 3 or 4 of the conference finals where he really had that massive game where he just really took over and won it on his own. I think it's the efficiency that's going to be the real jump for him to watch this year, as you're mentioning, where if obviously we know he can have that massive quarter, the massive game, but can he be really a consistent player now in the starting lineup? And then once Halliburton comes back, going back to the bench. But I'm really, really excited to not only watch this Pacers team, but watch all of those guards play without Halliburton this year.
Ben Mathurin listed at 6'5", but plays bigger than that because he's got super long arms and he's a tank. He's listed at 210. I bet he's 220 by now. He's almost in that class of like the Shaedon Sharpe, just uber talented enigma shot creators who show other skills and just have inherent defensive potential because of the physical gifts. I like the pick. The opportunity's there. There's more tunnel vision for Mathurin offensively than I'd like. He's very much not sort of in line with Pacers culture, but he's so talented. You and I both really bought him as a shot creator and just like transition athlete out of Arizona. And now's the time. I'm really happy that he got a chance to show some of the things that make him special in the playoffs because you and I had been waiting for that one.
Yeah, and the key difference between him and a guy like Shaedon Sharpe is his like embracing of physicality, and just always having the free throws as something to fall back on, and always being able to draw them no matter who he's going up against. Like he got a ton of free throws against OKC, he got a ton of free throws against New York. Every round it seemed like the free throws either increased or stayed the same. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what this Pacers team look like. Honestly, I could see them finishing anywhere from like 6th in the East if a bunch of stuff hits for them to if things really don't go well and like they miss their center, Nembhard and Mathurin don't progress as we think they can. They could like be bottom of the play-in. But yeah, Mathurin I think kind of holds the key, and the best case scenario for the Pacers this year is him turning into a bona fide like perimeter creator.
Coach, you got anyone left?
I've got one more left. You're going to probably say it's not too hot of a take because I know this entire chat loves him. We're going to go Reed Sheppard here. I'm really excited for this Reed season. 2 games in the summer league, didn't shoot it great, 16 of 44 with that summer league basketball. It doesn't really look like real basketball out there sometimes. And that's coming from someone who loves watching summer league. But the first game he did score 28 points, 10-25 from the field, 6 of 15 from 3. 8 rebounds too for this guy. Something really fun to watch. Heading into next season, obviously Fred is the starting point guard. I think Reed is sliding into that solidified backup spot. I think there's going to be times throughout the season and towards the end of the year where we're saying, should Reed be finishing games and should Reed be starting games for this Rockets team? I like Fred. Fred wasn't the guy in the playoffs that the Rockets needed to make a deep run. That's why they went to get Kevin Durant. I think Reed really gives that more reliable, consistent spacing there, as well as obviously creative playmaking and creating for the entire team. And now having Durant around him, having Dorian in there too. Dylan Brooks isn't doing anything crazy anymore on that team. I think he has that real solidified, great team around him to where I don't think summer league basketball is really for Reed. He needs real guys with high basketball IQ that are going to give him spacing and are going to give him consistent play. So, Drew, let me hear why you hate this pick.
I don't hate the pick. I think one of Max's rules that I think is on point is like, if it's his second year, like, of course we should expect a significant leap, but I agree with you. Like, Reed was that special at Kentucky. I had him at number 2 on my board last year. I want this to happen. I think, to your point, like, he's underratedly important to them this year because they have so many guys they need to play who are unreliable shooters. Amen Thompson, non-shooter, has to play 35 plus minutes. Tari Eason, extremely valuable defender and transition scorer, 34% on low volume. Şengün, one of the stars of the team, non-shooter. Steven Adams, they just paid, and they might be interested in exploring that too big look a little bit more since it worked really well against Golden State. Obviously, Steven Adams doesn't shoot threes. Even Fred VanVleet, who is still going to get guarded and respected from three, is streaky. So obviously KD, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jabari Smith, like they've got guys who can make shots, but not quite as many as you'd like. When arguably your two most talented players are non-shooters. I guess KD is probably now one of their two most talented guys, but I'm with the Reed pick, and I think that he's going to be ready. It's going to come down to like how his defensive playmaking really translates. I don't know. I really want to see it work. He looks smaller on an NBA court than I expected him to, I will say. I thought he would look a little bit sort of stockier and hold his own positionally. I watch him against NBA athletes now, and I'm like, that isn't quite the like 6'3" stocky guy I thought I was watching in college. And it worries me just a little bit, but I think he's too special a competitor and too reliable a long-range shooter and too high IQ more generally. I just think it's going to click on some level. The question is, what is the ceiling?
Yeah. And the Rockets GM came out and said that like we need Reed Sheppard to be good for us this year. Like basically there is no other option. So he's going to be thrown into the deep end in a sink or swim sort of environment. His shot chart, don't look up his shot chart from last year. It kind of looks like a McDonald's logo with all the red and yellow. But I do think that
sad meal.
Yeah, the sad meal. I do have faith in him though. I did want to run through quickly some like third year guys who, like, I'm ignoring second year guys, but third year guys who I was high on, who I think have a chance to kind of make more noise this year. Kobe Buffkin is one. I don't know, Drew, if you were going to mention him at all, but he's the backup point guard in Atlanta. He's only played 25 or 27 games in his career due to injury, but he's someone who I really liked coming out of college. Just kind of a jack of all trades guard. He kind of reminded me of Quickley, honestly. He's long, he can defend, he can pass, he can shoot decently well, he can get to the rim, he's got a nice mid-range game. So Buffkin's one who I am curious to watch this year and see if he can kind of really break out in a real way. Another one, Bryce Sensabaugh had a really strong summer league. He's just like a pure bucket getter scorer. Kind of reminds me of like a Bojan Bogdanovic with just scoring strictly on jumpers. He's liable to throw up a 28 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks game in the way that Bojan did. And I don't think he's going to be a star or anything, but I think he could be like a real player for the Jazz this year. And then the other one to mention, I'm not totally quitting on Jordan Hawkins also, who's shooting prospect on the Pelicans. I think he's got one of the prettiest jumpers in the league, and it's possible that that is clouding my judgment when it comes to him. He's very small and very skinny, which has been a problem for him, but I don't see any reason why he can't be like a Malik Beasley type of player in the NBA with how pure his jump shot is. So just wanted to call out those three kind of third-year guys. There's other guys like Sidi Sissoko who hopefully will get a shot on the Blazers this year, but that's like a real deep cut. But just wanted to rapid fire those ones.
You know I'm a Buffkin believer. Who was the second guy you mentioned?
Sensabaugh,
I think, is just never going to be a winning player. I've just watched him quit on too many plays defensively, and I think he's a solid candidate to actually beat Michael Beasley in whatever this ridiculous one-on-one spectacle is that's been going on. Bryce Sensabaugh, he's just one of those like incredible, like, let me just watch this guy cook someone who you'd think is a better one-on-one player. Like, I'm pretty sure Bryce Sensabaugh could carve out space and make tough jumpers over anyone in the world. And still, like, he just might not be additive because he doesn't guard with any intensity whatsoever. And I feel like he's a little bit out of shape as well. But I don't mind the pick.
Bryce Sensabaugh might beat like Derek White in a one-on-one game, like 11-2.
Yeah. So there's that. I have a couple of my fringy guys I wanted to save till the end, because as much as you and I believe in Kobe Buffkin, like, we just can't talk about him too much in our generalist NBA podcast. So you mentioned Scoot. I had him at the bottom here. Brandon Bajemski really turned his season around in the second half last year. He was super inefficient at the start. Dubs fans were coming for him, those impatient, spoiled motherfuckers. Podziemski is an elite guard rebounder, sneaky plus minus numbers in a lot of Golden State lineups last year, and just super high IQ and feel. And I just believe in a processor of the game like that to figure it out as he finds his sea legs in the NBA and the 3-point shooting becomes more consistent. And he's defended better at the NBA level than I thought he was going to be able to. That was my biggest fear. Like I was low on him out of Santa Clara because I just thought he was going to be a sieve. And he's had some real moments. He's kind of strong. He's not tiny. He just doesn't have a good wingspan for NBA standards, but he's held his own more consistently than I thought he would. Jake LaRavia, I think here's my thing with Jake LaRavia. Like aren't 6'7", 235-pound wings with no glaring weaknesses supposed to be valued assets?
Mm-hmm.
I get that Memphis had too many dudes and Sacramento is too dumb to know exactly what they had in Jake LaRavia, but I think the Lakers got a real bargain at 2 years, $12 million. It's not a huge investment. It's such a worthy swing. I think he's going to end up looking like a bargain.
I like that.
And then I put down Steph Castle, but I don't want to break my own rule, going at coach for picking Reed Sheppard. I just think for the rookie season and like the ceiling, the flashes Steph Castle showed, it's weird to me how much people seem to be sleeping on him as like a real capital S star in the making. Almost 100% of the league would probably tell you that Dylan Harper is their second best prospect now without a thought. But Steph Castle might be my second favorite asset on the Spurs just because I believe so much in him as a two-way dog. And you could argue he's the best passer on the team now that Chris Paul's gone. Like, everyone knows Steph Castle's really talented and a shiny piece in this Spurs, budding contender. But like, Steph Castle did a lot of crazy shit last year. Like he finished with more authority than I expected him to. Some of the two-handed dunks. I mean, he's a crazy jumper off too, and just has that unique on-ball cadence where he changes speeds and has like this flexibility. He gets so low on drives. He has real star upside because of those athletic traits. And I'm interested to see what he looks like next to Dylan Harper, another year with De'Aaron Fox, and obviously, of course, healthy Wemby at the middle of it all. Last guy. Sorry, guys. Let me just ruin the end of the pod here. I put down Keegan Murray. We've talked about him on the pod.
That's a good one.
I didn't hate the DeRozan trade when the Kings made it, but now I kind of feel like it was a mistake because I mean, look at where the Kings are now, but more specifically, I think it stunted Murray's growth. Keegan Murray, in my mind, is just a two-way weapon hiding in plain sight. 29 teams should be overpaying to steal him right now and help him hit his ceiling, which I think is way more than 3-and-D. He's got a nuanced bag as a shot creator. Like, watch his Iowa tape. He was super comfortable with his back to the basket. He's sort of an ambidextrous finisher. He shoots with his right, but really likes to finish with his left. I love Keegan Murray, and I want to see him unleashed. And Sacramento's done a really good job of hindering his progress.
Yeah, it feels like a smart team is going to snap him up at some point.
No doubt. Any closing thoughts from my two besties?
Couple honorable mentions from my end. I love a lot of those here. I love the Keegan. I love the LaRavia too. I think he's looked like a stud on that team playing next to LUKA and LeBron. Keon Ellis, for as much as I don't love the Kings, I think Keegan and Keon Ellis are two guys that I think smart teams are going to buy, as you were saying, Max. Max Christie as well is another guy, I think. Dallas, who knows what they're gonna look like with Kyrie whenever he comes back. If AD can stay healthy, love Cooper. I think Christie showed on the Lakers in those few games in Dallas as well that he's a real winning player on a winning team. And then it wouldn't be me being on this pod without saying Cole Rosario, Kansas Jayhawk. Everybody buy the stock now.
Okay. Let me give some context, which isn't Coach's strong suit. Coach was working, the top 100 camp a few weeks ago. He got an inside look at Cole Rosario and came back to our group chat saying, this incoming freshman at Kansas is really special. You said he was like cleaning up the gym when everyone else had left, I think. He looks like a more handsome Cooper Flagg. Let's get that out of the way. The dude is super good looking. but he's got a frame. He looks like a stereotypical NBA wing with the broad shoulders and the room to build muscle. I don't know a lot about his game. His shot looks pure to me, but I love it because everyone's talking about Darren Peterson, who probably today would be the number 1 pick in the 26th draft. Coach is thinking about Cole Rosario, who Bill Self is probably going to love, maybe even more.
Yeah,
listen,
he's really handsome.
I left coaching for a reason, but the coach never leaves me. He's the kind of guy during practice that Darren's going to hate to see across from him. Intangibles, it's all there. The right kind of mindset, the right kind of guy. And then game, as you were saying, Drew, too. Really great shooting stroke, really good athlete. Just wanted to give your draft pod a little bit of a free runway, too, there.
Hell yeah. Oh, the other third-year guy that I wanted to mention, I don't know if this is, I feel like it's spicy enough, is Bilal Coulibaly. On Washington. I think he had he made some meaningful strides last year. He's a really good defender. He's an insane athlete. He doesn't get a lot of pub because it's Washington and they suck, but I think is going to be really good. And we see these kind of athletic freak project types often make big strides in their third year. So I'm looking forward to see what Bilal looks like this year. He needs to shoot better than he's shooting right now, but defensively and with the ball handling and playmaking skills that he has combined with his athleticism, the ceiling there is really high. And Washington, they've got a lot of young guys, a lot of irons in the fire that they're waiting to see who hits. And I think decent chance that Coulibaly takes a real step as their premier prospect this year.
He came out of the gates absolutely burning last year and slowed down to a crazy extent. His efficiency just completely fell off. But early in the year when he was making threes and just frankly outrunning and outjumping dudes, his stats were eye-opening. I picked him up on all my fantasy teams right away and I started watching Wizards games to see what's happening. He's not very creative at the rim. He's so athletic and he's putting on muscle quickly, but everything's with his right hand. The dude does not have a left hand at the rim and the shot's inconsistent. And it's not like he's some sort of crazy handler or nuanced driver. And so quickly you go from a guy that I was in love with going into last year to a guy entering his third year who seems like his offensive game kind of crumbles quickly when the shot isn't falling. But I love the buy just because he had such a rough second half of his sophomore season. I think he's a good guy to look for to kind of regain some of that trade stock. And I will just add on the Wizards thing, I hope for their young guys' sakes that they hold on to the vets, that they, at least keep Chris Middleton or CJ McCollum as long as you can, because I like the way that the Wizards have been stockpiling young flyers. I think it's a good way to rebuild and just give everyone a chance and see who rises to the top. But if they trade Chris Middleton and CJ McCollum for draft capital, for instance, I just think it will be the Wild West. There will be no adults in the room. And it'll be harder for any of those individual prospects to reach their ceilings. So you see what the Blazers just did, bringing in Drew and Dame for Scoot and Jaden. I hope the Wizards don't make it just like the kiddie pool, because they have so many dudes who are not just young, but under 24, and I don't want it to look like a G League team because I believe in a lot of their individual pieces. I love Bub Carrington. We know this. I mean, I wasn't incredibly high on Alex Sarr, but I like him a lot. Kaishan George looks incredible. And I know, Max, you loved him. We both had an affair with him. I ended up with him at 20 and he got picked at 24. So I can't pretend that I was a super fan, but everything that we liked about him is popping, at least in Summer League. And he had some nights last year where things really came together. So the Wizards have a chance. They have a chance to build something special just because there's so many guys that have real ceilings. And we'll see which ones actually hit.
Hell yeah. Yeah, love George. Similar for me with you with Cedric Coward this year, where Keyshawn George put on the Knicks hat and then was traded to Washington. And then we got Dadier. So he's our handsome and young, our Hanson Young. Yeah,
and Pacome Dadier Truther is now in my X bio. I hope everyone who's listening noticed. I think Max likes a lot of my tweets, but doesn't look at my bio enough, which is frustrating because I change it manically. Pacome Dadier, my measure of Mike Brown's first season as the coach in the Knicks will be Pacome Dadier's minute count. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Coach, closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts is that next year I will be able to buy top 3 stocks after Max's LUKA take. Appreciate you guys having me on.
This has been the Borussia Podcast. Had fun. Thanks for joining. We appreciate you, and we'll be back soon. Peace.
Borussia.